Okay, so I don't really have a Let's Play episode to put up for you on, you know, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like, slot. Risky's Revenge is almost done. Well, almost. Yeah. I'm just missing a few dialogue lines, and then, yeah, I should be able to put it out soon. But for now, I thought I'd give you an extra video that I feel like I should have made when this game came out. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, I think, is one of the most disappointing games I have ever played. This game, it should have been at least, you know, Robomodo. What the fuck? That's what I want to, like, preface this entire discussion. What the fuck are you doing? Speaking of which, I don't even know what Activision's doing. Why would... They could have hired a competent developer because they know how Ride and Shred were received and how Pro Skater HD was received, but no, they kept Robomodo on board just to make money. That's all I'm gonna... This is why I hate Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. First of all, to those of you that like the game, God knows I wish I could be on the same boat as you. Seriously, I really want to like Pro Skater 5. I hate it so much, and I really wish I could be with you. But I can't. There's too much that upsets me about the game. Let me give a quick, like, history, like, thingamajig, whatever. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was announced, I think, just before E3. And, well, the name was announced just before E3. That got me really excited. I mean, I didn't know who was developing it at the time, but as soon as I saw, I was like, holy shit, a new Tony Hawk game? An actual Tony Hawk game with that formula? It's been years. It's been... Proving Ground was the last one we got with that. I didn't count HD at the time. I'd never played HD at that point. Then I found out who was developing it, and when I heard Robomodo, I was like, they made Ride and Shred, didn't they? And I've played Ride. Holy fuck, that's a bad game. I played Shred in a store. That was just as bad. Yeah, Ride and Shred did not function, but it was a spin-off game. I was just like, you know what, Robomodo, whatever. You fucked up that one time, I'll give you another chance. Then I found out that Robomodo made a remake of the first two Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games, and I was like, oh, alright, I'll play Pro Skater HD. Pro Skater HD, I didn't like at all. It was not good. I will give them credit for making the game look really good. Bringing back some old songs, some old favorites. Superman by Goldfinger's always is, you know, a plus in my book. May 16th, stuff like that. So they were able to do that, recreate the levels faithfully, and kind of. The big problem, though, was the gameplay. It was built from the ground up, and, you know, that doesn't sound so bad, because Project 8 was built from the ground up, but that was by Neversoft, so they knew what they were doing. And it worked. The new engine was really good. Robomodo decided, let's fuck everything and just try to make it look like we know what we're doing, but we're not. So, yeah, that's what they did. The gameplay is so goddamn clunky. You move so slowly, and when you try to grind, and when you try to move around, when you try to combo in that game, it's insanely slow. And sometimes, I swear, the game doesn't even, like, calculate that you're doing a grind, and you'll just fall. There are so many things in that game, so many just things that are a result of how the game is, like, built, that cause you to either end your combo, or you just can't have fun with it, because it's so slow, and it doesn't feel... It's hard to explain how the game feels without you actually playing it. It feels like you're on your skateboard, but you're going through mud at all times. Like, thick mud. So that's what that feels like. So yeah, that game I didn't like. So I saw some footage of it, of Pro Skater 5, you know, I was just like, alright. Oh, it looks a bit faster than Pro Skater HD. I mean, it might still be good, I hope. And they've consulted with former Neversoft employees. And... yeah, that didn't amount to anything. The game finally comes out. I didn't get it initially because I was, you know, I didn't have the money. I also started seeing footage of glitches in the game, and my heart sank when I saw that Eurogamer video. Oh, I immediately feared for the worst. Flippy uploaded his review. At the same time as I went over to my friend's house who had rented the game, and I played it. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, after 2 hours of playing, I can safely say is the worst Tony Hawk game I've ever played. Worse than Ride and Shred? Yeah, it's worse than Ride and Shred. Mainly because it's so goddamn disappointing, and I'm actually passionate about the series. Ride and Shred are shitty spin-off games that were made to cash in on, like, the fucking motion sensing, like, you know, that craze. But Pro Skater 5 was a sequel to Pro Skater 4. That came out 13 years ago. You got a lot to live up to, and they didn't. Alright, so first of all, I will say that this game has an amazing soundtrack. We get that out of the way. It's a Tony Hawk game. I don't think there has been a bad soundtrack in the Tony Hawk series. Robomodo, I don't know if Tony Hawk picked the songs or anything. I'm pretty sure he did. But either way, it's a good soundtrack, and they got some good picks in there. I could do without the Skrillex, and, you know, personally, I'm not a big fan of hip-hop, so I don't really listen to that stuff. But there's less hip-hop on this soundtrack, I've noticed. So, that's a thing. So I started up the game, I went online, picked Tony Hawk because I didn't give a fuck about anything else, I just wanted to play, and I immediately felt like there was something wrong. I moved the camera around the world and I was like, this is the first level? There's nothing going on here really. It was just a generic like skate park area where you can go into a building and there were more things to do. It just felt so generic. That's the biggest, the first issue I noticed with Pro Skater 5 in general was the levels are generic. They look like they were made in the Create a Park option, which returned, and I'll get to that. Yeah, the levels weren't fun to go around. School 3 was, it was School 2 with more assets placed around the level, and it was boring. The snow downhill level, that was just, downhill jam again. The downhill levels really haven't been acclaimed. The space level, which was, you know, a specific theme, it was alright. It was just glitched beyond belief, so I was just, yeah, no. Overall, the stages were either bland or just flat out bad. So yeah, I started grinding around, you know, doing combos, trying to do combos. And that was the only moment where I had fun with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. That, like, actually trying to do a combo. It worked in the beginning. I was actually able to do some really fun stuff, and it reminded me, like, holy shit, this is actually working. It's definitely faster than Pro Skater HD was. It still has that clunky, weird, muddy feeling to it, but it moves faster, which you know, that's good. It still doesn't feel like a proper Tony Hawk game should, but it's all right. Now, there's problems only continue from here. Combos are way too easy to do. Combos should take a lot of skill, a lot of practice, and a lot of patience in order to master. Basic combos are fun to pull off, yes. In Pro Skater 5, it is so goddamn easy to do giant combos because the balance meter is so goddamn generous, and the level design just accommodates you in every way in case you suck at the game, which, you know, for first-time players, for people that are new to the series, fine, but I'm not new to the series, and I don't think anybody that's playing Pro Skater 5 is new to the series. So, I'm just gonna say that I didn't like that. But the biggest, and I mean the biggest flaw with the gameplay is the slam I'm sorry, I can't say that, I can't say it without wanting to eat my own inside. What? The slam button is, what were they thinking, is all I can say about the slam button. In the first trailer, it was just, they were like, oh yeah, the slam button. You press it, when you're grinding on a rail, you go to the next rail, you keep on going, and then you just, like, slam back down to the rail. It's like, okay, I imagine how that could be useful, but didn't you already fucking do that when you held down the triangle? So, that's a big issue. The slam button in the game, every time you press the goddamn button, you go flying to the ground. There is no reason. It ends your combo almost in every single time you use the slam button. You'll slam and fall short of a rail because you press triangle too early. So I'm just going to interrupt my own rant here because I forgot to explain this. It's mapped to the same button as the grind button. That's why it's an issue. You can probably, even if you haven't played Pro Skater 5, you know that that's a big problem. Fuck the phone. The fact that you have to worry about that shit now is aggravating. There's no reason it should have been in the game. It's, oh my god. This is basic game design that you shouldn't fuck up on. What are you doing? Robomodo. You numbskull pieces of shit. You don't know how to make games. I know, okay, I know you had good intentions when you made Pro Skater 5. You wanted to make a good game, but you didn't. In my opinion, your game is shit. And I know your heart was in the right place, but I just don't think you can do it, and you should stop making Tony Hawk games. You can't either, you either can't recreate it, or you just fuck it up even further. So, don't do it again. Yeah, so the gameplay aggravated me. The game's glitchy, but we'll put those aside because, you know, it may be glitchy, but some people are able to look past glitches. Like, people like Sonic 06, and they don't see glitches. Some of them don't even encounter glitches. And, you know, they'll evaluate the game based on how it's designed and whatnot. I still think that Sonic 06 is designed poorly, but that's just me. The gameplay itself, you know, bad. The stages are not good, not memorable, they're so bland. Either that or they're rip-offs of older stages, nothing original, they all feel like they're made in Creative Park. At that point, all of my excitement was sucked out of me. I did not want to go through the game anymore. But hey, there is one more part of the gameplay to look at, and that's the missions. Now, this is a big one, because the missions are kind of the structure to the whole Tony Hawk, like all of the Tony Hawk games. You need those in order for them to be fun to play through. So if they actually fucked up the missions, yes they did. They did fuck up the missions. They fucked them up horribly. They are, you know, there are accessible around the levels. That's another thing with the levels in the career mode actually. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but the levels are empty. In career mode in Pro Skater 4, for example, there were people all over the place to interact with. There was funny dialogue, stuff like that. It felt alive. This game is empty. It's just a void of nothing. The missions, though, the missions themselves are not special. They're just, oh hey, do the tricks that you're told to do. And you know, those were in the other games, but they weren't. They made sense. They fit there. And this, like, they were calling out tricks for you to do while you were, you know, going around in quarter pipes and stuff. This game is just, Tony says, do a manual. Tony says, grind. Tony says, kickflip. Like, what? If you're gonna do those missions, at least include, like, some interactivity with it. So, yeah. Not only that, but there's always a mission in every single level where, I think a couple of missions, where you're collecting something, you're knocking objects in or out of, like, a pool. And there's always a mission where your head grows, and those missions are actually kind of fun. I enjoy them. Because of the game feeling still very blech, it's not as fun as it could have been, unfortunately. But it is a cool concept, and I enjoyed playing them whenever I got to them. The collecting stuff mission really doesn't have any belonging. Like, in the first level, you're collecting ice cream in barracks in this generic skate park and delivering it to a pool. What the fuck? Instead of putting like an ice cream truck, for example, and it's like, oh, my ice cream fell out, you gotta go get the box of ice cream, and then like bringing them back to the ice cream man, and then he rewards you, like one of the old Tony Hawk games would do to keep their world feeling believable. It's just empty. And I know I'm going back to the same topic, but it's true. It's so... Ugh. Yeah, the missions are not good. The missions are boring. They get boring quickly, and that's not good. Especially because there's nothing else to keep you entertained while you're doing the game, playing through the game. There's nothing, it's just, it's empty. There's nothing for you to do. Nothing to keep you motivated to keep going through it. The maps are bad, the gameplay feels, like, gross. It's hard to explain, but you know what I mean. It's if you've ever played an old Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, imagine taking that and weighting down Tony's skateboard and trying to play like that. Except this time, one of the weights were removed from his board, and that's what Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 feels like. It feels like HD without 2 weights on his board. Just fucking, that was a really flawed explanation, but you know what I mean. It's bad. So yeah, that's the entire career mode. Disappointing, fucking horrible. At that point, I didn't really want to try anything else out, but I did. I went to the Creative Skater, because, you know, I could probably make something, like some ungodly abomination like I did in Tony Hawk's Underground. Not even that is fun to do. Well, kind of. First of all, the customization levels are gone. There's no create a skater. What you're doing is you're swapping body parts between one of the pro skaters. And it's gross. That's disturbing. I mean, some of the body parts that you can create can make some really weird combos. Like Alyssa Steamer's not in the game, is she? One of, Felicia, whatever her name is. Her body with Officer Dick's head. That's fucking funny. So, it's a mixed bag, really, but overall, it's not nearly as creative. It's not really creative compared to the previous games. So that's another aspect that Robomodo fucked up. Next is, I guess finally, is create a park. We'll get to the glitches eventually. Create a park, it's alright. It's just that because the game is so bad, the community that they tried to start with it won't really be lively. So the create a park, especially because some people out there aren't very creative, isn't very fun. I mean, it's there. If in case you're creative, it works, definitely. But you're placing objects on the same, on like the actual levels. Like School 3, you can put like a quarter pipe somewhere you don't want it. I mean, granted, you can make some cool things in the Create a Park, but for the most part, they even managed to fuck up some smallest aspects. You can't start with a clean slate. Instead, you're placing shit on an already, like, existing level. They can't even give you a clean slate. Either way, you know, you can still make some cool things, but it's glitchy. It can be very glitchy. And now we get to the first. Actually, you know what? There is one more thing I forgot to cover. It's the online mode. The online mode, it sucks. It causes way too many load times. First of all, because the interactivity and trying to get into matches with people. Well, I haven't really tried that out, to be fair, but from what I've heard, it doesn't work. But I don't know what to think of it exactly. But from what I heard, it's really hard to do. Overall, the online mode doesn't make the world feel full. It's just people, like, flying about with, like, trying out the glitches and stuff like that. Because the game's not enjoyable. The online's gonna die. It doesn't make the world feel empty. And because you're already in online, and you switch to offline to do missions, it causes load times over and over. And they're not extremely long load times, but they're way too frequent. And they're not quick. Like, for example, in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, if you were to pick a mission, if you were to go up to a guy and pick a mission, the mission would start right away after some dialogue. In this game, you pick a mission, you load, you select that you want to do the mission, there's a countdown, and then the mission starts. And if you fail it, well, if you fuck up something in the middle, you can't retry. Don't even think about doing that. You have to wait for it to end, go through another load excuse me, go through another load time, then select it again, go through another load time, waits for the countdown to end, and then the mission starts again. And if you fuck up again, you might as well just turn off your console, because it's not going to be fun from there. So that's another thing. Yeah. Now, I've been on and off about the glitches with this game as well. The game is glitchy. It'd be an already, like, poorly designed, barely functional game because of how it's designed. But there's glitches. There are glitches. And they're bad glitches. They're not fun glitches like in Tony Hawk's Underground or something where you can't find them unless you intentionally look for them. No, these are everywhere. When you bail in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD and 5, you go into ragdoll mode. Now this opens up a lot of possibilities for glitches. It almost feels like you're playing Goat Simulator, as most people have likened it to. Oh my god. The glitches in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 can cause minor annoyances to major issues. Corrupted save files. Glitches with falling through the floor. Like corrupted levels. Flashing lights that cause seizures. Seriously, in the space level, I've seen footage of a glitch that causes your screen to flash white over and over and over again. I'm assuming that glitch happens after you bail, and your skater doesn't control properly. The glitches I encountered normally happen in ragdoll mode, but believe me, in one of the levels I have played, there were problems. I could see just corruptions in the backgrounds, like dots and shit that were happening. I think I fell through the level once in one of the levels. Either way, it's glitchy. They're there, and they're making the Robomodo's case worse. The game is god-awful. Alright, to wrap things up, I had to get this off my chest. This game is absolutely horrible. I can't play this game. I can't recommend it to anyone. Even if you want to have fun with breaking it, no. You might as well go play Goat Simulator. This game is so bad. It is not worth your time or money. They're charging $60 for this shit. You're charging full price for something that pretty much no one is gonna buy. Nobody was gonna buy a Tony Hawk game after the shit that they went through after Proving Ground, went downhill, and Robomodo came on and was like, how about we design some bad games just for you, Activision, just for the money. The game, phone, it's not good. If you want to play a good Tony Hawk game, go and get Pro Skater 4. Go and get the Pro Skater games. Go get Underground 1. Go get a good Tony Hawk game, please. It's so much better. You can go get them for like $1 nowadays. They're so good, and they're much better than Pro Skater 5 ever hoped to be. Don't get Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. It is so bad, and it was so disappointing when I played it. And that's why I hate Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.